Good morning.
Good morning.
It's game three, winner take all. It's going to be like that for the rest of the season now at this point. Um, how does the game three, the winner take all nature of it, impact the way you guys prepare for this game, or maybe some of the decisions you have to make heading into it or within the game itself?
You just review, situational stuff. I think from the first two games, you get an indication of what the end of a game could look like as far as, well, I would say the first game, but having things thrown at you when you're protecting a lead, you know, on the other side of it, what does it look like situationally when you're, in search of a goal? Those are the things that you try to prepare the group for because it can, look chaotic at times. So, yeah, that's a lot of what we review. Obviously, everybody knows the circumstances going into it of, a must-win game. So you try to analyze and take some lessons from unique circumstances in game two, and then revisit some of the things from the first game and have a confident group that understands how to approach the game, but to go after it in a good way.
You highlighted after game two, looking to get to a faster start, looking to get into the game quicker. Are there things that you think, after looking at that game, that you're able to do to position the team to do that more effectively heading into game three?
Yeah, you hope so. You don't always have guarantees with it, but early momentum. I thought we found that in game one with early chances. That's always important. I think for confidence, for momentum, especially when you're playing at home, getting the crowd into it. Those things matter. Game two, they were on the front foot. I think defensively the structure was okay. We were able to defend the goal. Those first 15 minutes, even though we didn't have the ball, but what had us taking on, I think more on the defensive side of the ball was we had probably two or three sequences where we were poor in possession, and then it just didn't allow us to get into a rhythm, and they had that rhythm. So then I think up until the goal that we conceded, it started to improve, but at that point then we give up the goal and then the red card shortly after, and the complexion of the game changes. So review how we can have a better start in game three like we did in game one.
This team has struggled in some big knockout games in the past. Why do you think that's been, and what maybe can you learn from those? What might you need to do differently to kind of change that narrative?
Yeah, learn from some of those moments. I think we've probably discussed this multiple times now because unfortunately we've had circumstances where we haven't been able to succeed, but try to use those as a way to guide the group. And like I said, we have to go after it in a confident way. You can't go after it scared, or you don't have a chance. So take the lessons from the last two games and not going back to years past. We know what the results were in those moments, but different group, different opportunity, and I think everybody knows what's at stake. And like I said, it's trying to go about it in a confident and calm way, but with the right intensity and urgency in the right moments. So, it's not frantic, it's controlled, but with a really good intensity.
Columbus has won trophies before. Is there any kind of advantage that they bring because of that, or does it maybe take the pressure off them a little bit?
We've won a trophy too, in different circumstances. So I don't focus too much on talking about the fact that an opponent we've played has won trophies in the past. If you're talking about recently with their group, with their coach, yeah, they've had success as well. So, but what I want our guys to think about is the success that we've had to get to this point, and a trophy hasn't eluded us, but we're trying to win an MLS Cup. We understand that, so we're not going to spend too much time on who's won what and why that matters in this game. What matters is how we go out and perform to beat a good team and advance.
Pat, what's the status of Nick Haglund, and when he plays, what does he provide for your defense?
Nick's healthy. It was, a game time decision, and we decided not to take risk. So he's trained and available, and I think you see when he's on the field the experience, the vocal leadership. I think especially against a team like Columbus when there's moving parts in when you're on especially the defensive side of the ball. How do you have guys that understand how to communicate passing on runners or get the organization right from deeper positions? He provides that for us and has experience in these games, which is always important to help his teammates out that might have less experience. So, he's on the field in game one, and we had a pretty strong performance, and he was a part of that. And you could see, I think, not being on the field in game two, his presence was missed. But he's available and ready to go.
Matt Miazga, same. Any updates that you're able to share on his status for this weekend?
Matt was on the field for the first time yesterday, so it was nice to see him out there. A lot of his, progression and rehab work was inside, and so now we're at the next phase where he's out on the field, and the timeline really hasn't changed from a few weeks ago. So hopefully we can continue to move on here and get him healthy and available.
As for playing at home this weekend, you kind of talked about it post-match last weekend, but how important is it to have that home field advantage against a rival specifically? Yeah. Maybe a little more helpful in that situation.
It's always better to be playing at home with a fan base like we have. You saw it in game one. The energy was great. I think the guys that, stepped out on the field for this club performed in a way where it brought out even better energy in them. That's our job. So, to play the game in a way where, it brings life to the stadium. And we felt that in game one, and we're hoping to feel that again in game three. But they've shown up. They've shown up every time, and it's our job to reward that.
And then how do you also kind of find the fine line between aggressive play but also not picking up cards like you did last weekend and not taking your foot off the gas pedal in that respect? Yeah,
it's tricky. You want to have, the right intensity, the right pressure at the right moment, and that, we've experienced it now in the last two games. The moments where you get it wrong, they can cause you some problems, and it's trying to make sure that the way you defend against the ball is controlled and clear as far as how you want to recover it. And then when you do have the ball, whether it's playing in transition, understanding those moments where we can exploit space, and when the moment's not there, how to be patient with the ball. And I think we did that in a much better way in the first game, and obviously in the second game it wasn't as strong, certainly up until the red card. So having controlled energy and doing it together, I think it's an important part of it. You can't have one guy with good intensity step into the ball and the remainder of the group that isn't ready. You got to get the collective press right, and then when you're moving the ball, how you try to exploit space and attack, that has to be a collective as well.
We went through stretches of the season where we were asking you about unlocking the attack with some pretty talented players. Now we're, I guess you could say, a game and a half into the playoffs since the red card kind of impacted the last game. But you have one goal out of that stretch, or out of those games. Is there a key to unlocking that in the playoffs? What's kind of the key to that?
Well, the playoffs, you're not typically expecting to step on the field and score 4 or 5 goals. That's just not how the playoffs work. So in the first game, there were many opportunities, I'd say, on their side too for some tap-ins if players got the final pass right. So you can look at a scoreline and say the chance creation wasn't there, but in the first game there was 3 or 4 moments where we could have had some clear looks at goal, and they had the good look in the first half and then in the beginning of the second half. So they could have had their goal as well, or two. So I'm not concerned with the number. It's the chance creation. then you could talk about the execution being the problem. So games are tight in the playoffs. This isn't about shootouts. It's about defending in a good way to then understand how to utilize what might be limited chances to win games. But in the second game, once you're, I think, down a man after, the 40 minutes, it's harder to score a goal. So up until that point is where I don't think we found enough of a rhythm and confidence to cause them enough, stress.
And then going back to the health of the group, is Matt the only one that's
Correct.
not?
Everybody's available outside of Matt.
How key is that for you guys at this stage to have everyone available like
That's
that?
great. I mean, it's, you can see it in training. Guys are getting pushed, and guys realize now it's, minutes are hard to come by if you're not training well and in a good physical state. So getting some, Lucas back, Ayub, Luca. There's some guys Brad Smith back in the mix now. So health is important. And then just how guys push each other on the field to be ready for important minutes come game time. I think that's always a key at this stage.
You mentioned it just there a little bit with training, but you highlighted the importance of the confident mentality going into this game and not playing scared. How has been the response in training, and how has training been in the following days since Sunday? And where's the group at, I guess?
Good. We put a lot of focus on just what we needed to improve on the first 2 days, and then put a little bit more time into the adjustments today and tomorrow. So I think the group was disappointed, pissed off, all the normal emotions when you don't perform well. And so how do you take those lessons? How do you go and put your head down and train? The past is the past. We can look at that game and spend too much time thinking about it, and that could have a negative impact on this week. I said, you got to get past it quickly. That was the discussion right after the game, because we get to go again. That's the positive. And so we control what the next couple of days look like to prepare the right way, to go into it the right way, and have a better outcome. So, that part's pretty straightforward to me.
This will be the fifth time you play Columbus this season. That's a lot for any individual opponent, but particularly one against a rival like this. But is there any, after seeing a team 5 times, is there any element of surprise in what they're able to do, or is it more about execution versus being surprised by what they might present to you?
Both. There's been, some changes in the first 2 playoff games from regular season play, and I imagine there'll be changes in what the game looks like in Game 3. But there's also, components of the game that you have a pretty good idea, both sides, what you're going to see, and then it comes down to duels. It comes down to execution and who can make more plays. So, of course, you have to be prepared for what the changes could look like. And then, in some of it, it's, you've played each other a lot, and you have a decent idea of the personnel and, what the game looks like in different phases, but who can make more plays.
Evander was named to the MLS Best 11. He's obviously scored a lot of goals, contributed to a lot of goals. But when he's at his best, what do you see from him?
I think you see not just him, but us understanding how to position him, us understanding how to locate him, us understanding how to move off the ball and run to goal because of his, high-level passing, high-level vision. And then in moments where the game's not so clear and solutions aren't so clear, what he's capable of doing to change a moment or change an outcome, that's where he separates himself. So, I could name multiple goals, multiple moments throughout the year that describe that question of what does he mean to the team, and why is he a best 11 caliber player? And it's those things that I just mentioned. He plays a game at a very high level, and He can do it in a simple way. He can do it in a complicated way. He can do it with the pass. He can do it with the shot. He can do it on the dribble. So hopefully we get all of that on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.